Tampa Chamber of Commerce. I want to welcome and thank our viewers and members that are tuning in to our candidate interview series for 2019. We are conducting interviews for mayor for the city of Tampa. The Chamber focuses on policy, not necessarily politics. We do not endorse candidates. However, it's important to get candidates in front of the business community to answer questions on issues that are important to the community. Today, we're excited to have Topher Morrison joining us. He's a candidate for mayor. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So we're just under 6 weeks from Election Day.
Yep.
And as we go into this final stretch, wanted to see what's your message to the voters in the city of Tampa before they head to the polls?
Sure. Well, I'm the small business mayor. I think we spend far too much time, energy, focus, and money trying to recruit large Fortune 500 companies when we should be spending our time, energy, focus, and money building the next Fortune 500 company from aggressive, ambitious, and well-performing small businesses that are already here in the Tampa Bay area. 98% of our economy is because of small business owners. Let's give them the love and attention that they desire.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Getting some of the business questions that we have that align with our agenda. Talk workforce housing. We hear from some that it's a crisis. It's certainly a need in Tampa. What policies or zoning changes do you see as opportunities to address workforce housing solutions in Tampa?
Well, until we start changing our building codes and our zoning, we're going to have a hard time enforcing that, really. I think it's important to also understand the difference between affordable housing and workforce housing as well. Workforce housing, for the people who are watching, are a program specifically designed for people to be able to work near their office place. So, for example, maybe there's a nurse that wants to live downtown but works at Tampa General. Well, we would be able to provide some incentives for those developers to provide workforce housing. And the way it works is very simple. Maybe we give them some density bonuses to where they can maybe build a little bit higher or have more units in exchange for making some of those units available for workforce housing. And it's absolutely something that we need to do because right now our property values are growing at exceedingly higher rates than our salaries are. And if we continue to do this, it doesn't take a mathematician or a genius to figure it out. You can't keep up that pace. You've got to let the salaries catch up with the property values. This is one way to make sure that people can afford to live wherever they like.
Perfect. Some would argue that the budget is one of the biggest responsibilities for the mayor.
Yeah.
We've heard from some state economists and some budget leaders that we may see a dip in the economy in a couple of years. If elected, that would be under your tenure. How would you address that when it comes to budget prioritization? How would you look at some cuts? Would there be tax increases? How would you balance that?
Sure. Well, I think this is one of the reasons why small business owners make better mayors. Because as a small business owner, we never have enough time, we never have enough money, we never have enough staff. We're always dealing with shortfall. We can take a dime and stretch it into a dollar. And we understand the importance of making sure that when business is going good, you don't spend like crazy. When business is going good, you pack some of that away so you can prepare for the slower times in your business. And we have to do that as a city as well. We need to make sure that while the times are going good like they are right now, let's take advantage of it. Let's make sure we're building up our bank rolls. But we've also got to realize that when things go south, and listen, what goes up always goes down. This is not a bad thing. It's just a thing. And one of the ways that we can protect about that, and I'm going to go back to this time and time again, is that the more small business owners that we're supporting, the better we're going to be. Listen, I would much rather have 10,000 small business owners hire one additional person than to have one company come in and hire 10,000 people. When the times are going bad, we have to have a diversification of our labor force, and that's one of the key things I think we can do to protect ourselves for that.
Great. You've mentioned small business owners quite a bit, and I want to touch on an issue there that we've heard from some members of the chamber in the community, and that's the permitting process. We've heard some issues. There's some difficulty in that process, and while we certainly understand that we want to make sure that it's a safe process, we also need to build in some efficiency. How would you address permitting if elected?
So I have been with general contractors. I've been with developers that have had the permitting for multi-zone units. They get it, they purchase it at the 11th hour right before they're ready to break ground. The water department or somebody calls and says, hey, there's a problem. Right here in the building that I live in downtown, the Element, Matthew, the guy who owns Burger I Am, this poor guy's been trying to open his restaurant for over 16 months. And why hasn't he opened it yet? Permitting issues. We are horrible with that right now. By the way, in the same 16 months, in just 2 months, he designed, opened, and has a functioning restaurant in Brandon. When he's opening up his third one, I can promise you this, he's not going to be opening up in the downtown or the city limits because he's so frustrated. Here's how I think we can do that. We need to invest heavily in our infrastructure. We have a great team of people working for the city of Tampa, but they're burdened by IT infrastructure that's not letting the left hand know what the right hand is doing. Through machine learning and artificial intelligence, there is no reason why we should be able to set a very ambitious goal to make sure that permitting can happen in less than 5 hours, not 5 weeks, not 5 months, 5 hours.
Great, thanks for that. Switching gears a little bit, I want to talk about home rule and preemption. We hear from local governments across the state that this is a growing frustration, becoming critical of the legislature in Tallahassee, that there's a Tallahassee knows best mentality. Do you agree with that sentiment? If so, how would you as mayor work with our legislative delegation to strengthen that relationship?
Sure. Listen, nobody knows how to run the local area better than the local people. So we need to keep Tallahassee under check and making sure that they're not telling us how to live our lives and they're not telling us how to develop our businesses as well. Here's the thing. It is in Tallahassee's best interest to fulfill and adhere to the needs of the local representation. But right now, our local representation, frankly, just isn't giving them the leadership that they want. What they're giving them is the acquiescence and cooperation and subversion to where they're just doing whatever they say. A good leader should be able to go to Tallahassee and convince them to their cause to make sure that we are getting what we want and they can support us in that, not doing what they want.
Great. Economic development, utilization of P3s, public-private partnerships, has become an asset for local governments across the country. What opportunities do you see for P3s in the city of Tampa?
Sure. So one in particular one that I'm very excited about is prize-based innovation. Peter Diamantes, who founded the X Prize, has discovered that when you can go to private partnerships and have them develop a purse for an innovation technology that we as a city would need, we can determine upfront what the budget is. We only have to pay for it if it works. And the cool thing about prize-based innovation is if we do it right, we put the global spotlight on our city to develop new technology and innovation that helps us in our markets. I've got 2 specific projects, which we probably don't have time to talk about on the video, but if people go to topherformayor.com, they can go read about it. I've got 2 ambitious prize-based innovation projects that I want, both of which are going to help solve our congestion and transportation issues.
Perfect segue, transportation. So obviously in November, a chamber-supported transportation referendum passed,
Yes.
using new dollars into transportation.
And thank you for supporting that, by the way. I know the chamber got behind that, and thank you.
And we all have a list of transportation projects that we want to see come to fruition. However, I want to ask you, what is the one project, if you had one priority project first out of the gates with these new transportation dollars, what would it be?
Sure. So first off, let me just share with you that 9 years ago, I sold my car for a 30-day experiment to see if I could go without a car, and it's been 9 years now. My main mode of transportation is my feet, and then it's my bike, and then it's mass transit, and then from there I'll go into rideshare. So for me, fixing our transit issues isn't just a campaign promise. For me, it's personal. I am the one that understands this more than anyone, I think, because I live it on a day-to-day basis. Very clear priority. You know, I always ask people, I say, listen, which more valuable, or which life is more precious? The one walking in shoes, the one riding on a bike, the one riding on a bus, or the one driving in a car? And, you know, obviously that's a no-win question. All of those lives are equally important. And even though they have equal importance, we need to prioritize them in a very specific way. And I have a very specific priority for that. We should be putting feet before bikes. We should be putting bicycles before transit. And we should put transit before cars. So my first and number one priority is to make sure that schools that are connected to major thoroughfares have complete streets. They have sidewalks. I'll give you a great example. Elrod Avenue connecting Robinson High School to Del Mabry. There's no sidewalks there, and it is dangerous. It's a very narrow road, and if kids have 2 cars coming both directions, they got to jump in the ditch. Got to fix that.
Perfect. Talk about leadership. What do you see as the role of Tampa's mayor, and how might that evolve over your tenure?
Sure. So ultimately, the mayor sets a tone for the people to follow. That's the easiest and most simple way to say it. And I want to create a tone of inclusiveness. I want to create a tone of collaboration. A lot of the problems that we face right now are illusions. We don't actually have the problem. We actually have a problem with collaboration. I want to be that mayor for you that allows people to realize that the left and the right can get along just fine, that developers can get along with city council, and city council can cooperate, and we can develop affordable housing, workforce housing. For me, it's all about creating and setting a specific tone. And the tones that I'm going to create are ones of inclusiveness, where we also reward small business.
Great. So we've touched on several important policy topics. I want to give you the opportunity, to tell us, is there something we missed that's a priority of your campaign, or would you like to reemphasize something that we touched on?
Sure. So there's three main things that I'm running on under the umbrella of being the small business mayor. The first one is making sure that we commit to becoming a 100% green renewable energy city. No longer do we have to have a conversation about whether or not we should be green friendly or whether we should move towards something which is profitable. Today, the profit is in the green technology. So there is just no reason why we should be looking for outdated energy sources. We should be moving the ball forward. It is shameful that as our state, we have the least amount of solar panels that are out there. And a lot of that's because of lobbyists and special interests getting in the way from allowing us to just do what we want with our homes. So for one, let's create a green renewable energy city. And that has a huge amount of information in it, but I have created a green city plan that anybody can go to. In fact, if you text the word trees to 41411, it'll just send you a link. It's a one-time link. It's not going to blow up your phone with donation requests. That's not my style. One-time text gets sent to you. You click it, and it'll bring up my green city plan, and you can read exactly what I want to do for that. The second thing, solving our transit issues. I mentioned it already, so I don't need to go into that again, but I will tell you this. With regard to transit, I'm the mayor that doesn't think that transit has to look like it's always looked. I've looked outside of America to other countries that aren't as car-centric as we are to find out what they're doing to solve their congestion issues. I found cities like La Paz, Bogota, and Medellin, Colombia that used to suffer from 90-minute and 2-hour commutes to work, and they've reduced them to 15 minutes by allowing themselves to think a little bit differently. So I've got some aggressive, cool campaigns that you can learn about if you go to topherformayor.com. And then the third and final thing is social justice. I think you can measure the effectiveness of a city by how well they take care of those that are less fortunate. And I think we need to look out for our marginalized communities, and we need to make sure that everybody can have one job to enjoy their life, not 2 or 3 to stay alive.
Perfect. So you mentioned topherformayor.com. Our viewers, our members, the business community, if they wanted to learn more about your campaign, in addition to the website, how can they find more?
Yeah, that's the easiest way, topherformayor.com. They can also call me, 813-857-8638. Listen, we're a grassroots movement. I'm proud to say that I do not have a political action committee, no PAC. What that means is I have no financial hooks on these shoulders. I'm not beholden to any special interest group. All of the money I've raised has been on the shoulders of hardworking men and women that are, quite frankly, middle class and low income families that realize that, you know what, we need a new mayor, but that mayor has to be inclusive, they have to be progressive, and they have to be smart with their money and supportive of small business.
Well, Topher, on behalf of our 1,400 members, our board of directors, thanks for joining us, and thanks for your willingness to serve in an elected capacity.
My honor. Thank you.